Good morning, students. Last class we have started the life process chapter. Okay. What are life process? The processes which together perform the maintenance job of well-organized structure of living organisms. The process which together perform that perform together perform the maintenance job of organized structure. The processes that together perform the maintenance job of the organized structure of living organisms are known as life processes. What are those life processes? Nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion. They are the life process. Nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion. These four are the life processes. Okay. The maintenance functions, they need energy. Why energy is needed by the maintenance function? Because maintenance functions are involved in preventing the damage. They are involved in preventing the damage by repairing, and they are involved in maintaining the well-organized structure. As the maintenance functions are to prevent the damage and repair, they need energy to prevent damage. Maintenance functions have to repair. Okay, so they need energy. Simply to speak, to prevent damage and maintain the organized structure, they need energy. What is food? Just now we have discussed energy is needed for the maintenance functions, and raw materials are needed for the growth of the body. Energy is needed for the maintenance functions, and raw materials are needed. Raw materials are needed for the growth of the body. So, what is food? Food is the source of energy and raw materials. Food is the source of energy and raw materials. Source of energy and raw materials is food. Right. Next, what is nutrition? What is nutrition? Yesterday we have already discussed the process of intake of food by an organism from its outside. Process of intake of food by an organism from its outside the body is nutrition. Process of intake of food by an organism from its outside the body is nutrition. Different nutritional processes. Life on earth is based on carbon based biomolecules like proteins, carbohydrates, nucleic acids, lipids, etc. What are carbon based biomolecules? Carbon based molecules. What are they? Proteins, nucleic acids, carbohydrates, and lipids. These are the major carbon based molecules. Life on earth is based on carbon based biomolecules, and these carbon based biomolecules, so the food that has to be taken must be also carbon based, otherwise these molecules cannot be synthesized. And the food that is available outside the bodies of the organisms is having different complexities. The available food for the living organisms is not same for all. It is with different complexities. Since there are different complexities among the carbon-based food sources, different organisms use different types of nutritional processes. Different complexities among the food sources make the living organisms to adopt different nutritional processes. Okay, right. As I already said, there are different sources of energy and raw materials, that is food. There are different types of food materials for the living organisms. So, some are very simple and some are complex. There are some organisms which use the simpler molecules as their part of their nutrition. The other organisms they use or they take in complex food sources. Example, for the living organisms that take simpler substances as part of their nutrition are green plants and some bacteria. They take simpler substances, not simple, they are simpler substances. What do they take as part of their nutrition? Carbon dioxide and water. They take as part of their nutrition. And These are very simpler things. So these two will be built up. CO2 plus H2O, they combine and they form glucose. They form glucose. So the organisms that take simpler substances, they built up using these simpler substances some source of energy. This is source of energy. There are some other organisms which take, like animals, they take complex food. Complex food. So complex food cannot be directly utilized as source of energy. So it is broken down. It is broken down. It is broken down by using some biocatalysts or enzymes. And this complex food is available directly or indirectly from green plants only. Directly, if the animal is eating green plant, it is direct. If the animal is eating other animal which is eating green plant, that is indirect. But anyhow, it is complex food. It is broken down into glucose, some amino acids, fatty acids, etc. Right? So, here also glucose is formed. So, either it is broken down like this or it is built up like this. Finally, a uniform source of energy is produced, either building up or by breaking down. Then, how this uniform source of energy can be used for various molecular movements? It is only uniform source of energy. How is this going to be used for various molecular movements? Molecular movements that are involved in maintenance activities, they need energy. We already have learnt. But how this uniform source of energy? This uniform source of energy will be broken down by many oxidizing reducing reactions. By many oxidizing and reducing reactions. This uniform energy is broken down by many oxidizing reducing reactions using oxygen. Using oxygen. This process is called respiration. But where the oxygen is available? Is it available directly inside the living bodies? No. It is available outside the bodies of the living organ. So first of all, that particular oxygen has to be acquired from outside and then it has to be utilized in the breakdown of the food or uniform source of energy for cellular needs. This process is called respiration. What is respiration? Acquiring of oxygen and using it in the breakdown of food for cellular needs is called respiration. What is respiration? What we have learned regarding respiration? Respiration is the process of acquiring oxygen from outside the body of the organism and to use it in the breakdown of food for cellular needs. It's called respiration. If you take unicellular organisms, in unicellular organisms, uptake of food, uptake of oxygen and throwing of waste materials from the body, all these functions are carried out by means of a simple diffusion. Simple diffusion. So, uptake of food and uptake of oxygen, they are carried out by means of simple diffusion. Uptake of food and uptake of oxygen. uptake of oxygen are functions of what? Are carried out by simple diffusion. Why? Why are they carried out by simple diffusion? How are they carried out by simple diffusion? Because in unicellular organism, the entire surface of the organism is in direct contact with the environment. Whereas in multicellular organisms, all the cells are not in direct contact with the environment. All the cells are not in direct contact with the environment in the case of multicellular organisms. So, uptake of oxygen and uptake of food is carried out by specialized tissues. Uptake of food and uptake of oxygen is carried out by specialized tissues. It is a function of specialized tissues. Uptake of food and uptake of oxygen in multicellular organisms is a function of specialized tissues. Right. So, the oxygen is taken inside the body by some specialized tissue, and food is taken inside the body some other specialized tissue. And both of them are going to be utilized in each and every individual cell. So, the point of entry of food, the point of entry of oxygen, and their utilization, they are different. The points means food is entering at one point and it is utilized at another point. Oxygen is entering at another one point and it is utilized at another point. That is inside the cells. So, the food and oxygen must be carried to their points of utilization from their points of entry. The food and oxygen have to be carried from the point of their entry to their point of utilization. This process is called transportation. Transportation is what? Carrying the food and oxygen to the area of their utilization is known as transportation. And transportation is carried out by some other specialized tissues. In human beings, it is carried out by blood. Blood is liquid connective tissue, which you have learned in class 9th itself. So the process of carrying of food and oxygen. The process of carrying of food and oxygen is known as transportation. It is known as transportation. So, the oxygen is used in the breakdown of food. Oxygen is used in the breakdown of food in order to release energy. And in that process, many chemical reactions are involved. Due to the chemical reactions that are involved in the breakdown of food for the release of energy, many useless byproducts are created. Which can be harmful if they are stored within the body. The useless byproducts that are created during chemical reactions of a cellular breakdown of food can be harmful if they are accumulated in the body. So they must be removed from each and every individual cell and must be discarded out from the body. This process is known as excretion. What is excretion? The process of removal and discarding of useless byproducts from the body is known as excretion. The process of removal and discarding. Of useless byproducts. From the body is known as excretion. This excretion also is carried out by simple diffusion process in the case of unicellular organisms. In the case of unicellular organisms, the excretion also is carried out by simple diffusion process. Whereas in the case of multicellular organisms, excretion is carried out by specialized tissue. Excretion is carried out by specialized tissue. And to these specialized tissues, from each and every individual cell, the useless byproducts are carried by transportation process. So transportation process is involved in two activities. One is carrying the food and oxygen to the area of their utilization, and another one is carrying the useless byproducts from each and every cell to the excretory tissue. So excretion is carried out by specialized tissue. Specialized tissue. To this specialized tissue, the useless byproducts are transported, or they are carried to this specialized tissue. What is this specialized tissue called? Excretory tissue. Excretory tissue. Right. And there are some questions that are there at the end of this first part, 6.1. So what are those questions? Let us see. Question and answers. 6.1. Okay, first question. Why is diffusion insufficient to meet the requirements of multicellular organisms like humans? Because all cells are not in direct contact with the environment. Diffusion is not sufficient, or it is insufficient to meet the requirements. What criteria do we use to decide whether something is alive? Visible movements and invisible molecular movements are the criteria. Third question. What are outside raw materials used for by an organism? What are outside raw materials used for by an organism? Food and oxygen. They are the outside raw materials used for. Right? And another way, if you think, what is the purpose? The purpose is to provide energy and for the growth of the body. To provide energy and for the growth of the body, food and oxygen are utilized by the living organisms. What processes would you consider essential for maintaining life? The life process are considered to maintain the life. And what are they? Nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion. Okay. In detail about nutrition we will discuss in the next class.